Welcome to the Ibstock plc 12 Fundamentals Health and Safety film. This film is for Ibstock plc employees at UK operating companies.
Good morning, Ibstock plc.
Hello, I'm Wayne Shepherd and I'm Chief Executive of Ibstock plc. Welcome to this health and safety video. As you should all know by now, health and safety is my #1 priority. I have a simple view of life. If you can't keep safe, or we can't keep our people safe, we should not be in business. Many employees in the recent 2 or 3 years have received personal letters from me talking about lost time accidents, and that each lost time accident results in one of our colleagues enduring pain and suffering, and in my view that's unacceptable and unnecessary. All accidents can be avoided. We employ the 12 fundamentals to help us focus on health and safety, and these fundamentals are risk assessment. Before we undertake a job of work, we should undertake a risk assessment. Mobile plant is number 2, and pedestrian safety. And in all of our factories you'll see walkways, and the intention is to keep those factory walkways clean and tidy and keep pedestrians away from moving lorries and mobile plant. The mobile plant side, we've spent many hundreds of thousands of pounds on reverse braking systems to make sure that our mobile plant can't easily be reversed into people and cause an accident and crush somebody. Number 3, isolation of operating machinery. Clearly we need to isolate any machine before undertaking an activity inside or on that machine. Machine guarding, number 4. Again, clearly all our machines need to be guarded to prevent access to employees causing injury. Confined spaces, number 5. Well, the key thing with confined spaces, they can be very dangerous, and we operate permit to work systems to make sure that before you enter a confined space, a risk assessment has been undertaken and you enter that confined space safely and in a controlled manner. Working from heights, number 6. Clearly working from heights is dangerous, and as you'll know, on most of our locations we have Simon lift or topper trucks, etc. to assist working at height activities. Lifting operations, number 7. Again, we work to control any lifting operations by crane or any form of mechanical assistance, and those procedures should always be employed. Electricity, well, that's number 8, and just because you can't see it doesn't mean electricity isn't extremely dangerous, and we talked about isolation earlier. Clearly working with electricity is something we need to control, and the one thing you should have in mind that electrocution is a particularly nasty death, and it isn't quick and it's extremely painful. Number 9, manual handling. Well, Manual handling could be, an example could be lifting a box of stationery in the office right through to packing bricks in a factory, and we need to work using our procedures and systems to ensure that we reduce the risk of accident. Pressure vessels is a less common one, number 10. All of our factories have compressed air systems, and the pressure vessels in those systems have to be maintained correctly to avoid any risk of explosion and injury. Number 11, contractors. This is critical in the sense that contractors working on our sites, they're not our employees, but we have a duty of care and we must make sure they work safely on our sites. It's very simple. If they don't want to work to our safe systems, we evict them from site. Very clear, very simple. And finally, number 12 is gas. Now, all of our brick plants use gas to burn bricks, and we need to make sure those gas systems are maintained in accordance with the gas regulations and we keep them safe. These 12 fundamentals cover the main risks, but not all. So we employ a safety begins with me culture, and we employ a safety concerns culture as part of that. And that means if you see something that concerns you from a health and safety front, you report it to your manager. And if you think about it, every concern that's raised and dealt with can prevent a future accident. Every accident that we prevent in the future means that's one less employee suffering, pain and discomfort as a result of an accident. Our target is 0 accidents, particularly lost time accidents. Until we achieve this, we will always have a lot of work to do. So please do pay attention to this video and work with me to make sure that Ibstock is the safest place to work possible. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is John Lambert, Managing Director of Forticrete Limited. The content of the short film you are about to see is designed to keep you, your colleagues, our visitors safe. The 12 fundamentals of health and safety are a vital step towards creating a world-class health and safety culture. Your role in this is key. We need your commitment to apply these fundamentals in your day-to-day work to help keep everyone safe. If you have any questions about the content of the video, then please contact your line manager to discuss them. If you spot a safety concern at work, then raise it as soon as possible as you can by following the simple procedure in the Health and Safety Handbook. Remember, safety begins with me, and that also applies to you to keep everyone safe. Thank you.
Now let's look at the 12 fundamentals of health and safety we must commit to here at Ibstock plc. Fundamental 1. Risk assessment. Each company must have a documented risk assessment policy in place, and it must be communicated to all locations. Risk assessment must address routine and non-routine tasks, including work carried out by contractors, temporary employees, and construction work. Fundamental 2. Mobile plant and pedestrian safety. Each location must have documented site transport rules in place based on a workplace transport risk assessment, which at a minimum addresses vehicle and pedestrian segregation, edge protection for slopes and benches, driver training rules and assessment, vehicle rules including speed limits, alarms, reversing systems, statutory inspections, and use of mobile phones. All drivers must be trained and regularly assessed and must carry out daily pre-use company vehicle inspections for both on-site and off-site use. Seat belts must be worn by all drivers. All loads must be secure and within vehicle weight limits. Fundamental 3. Isolation of operating machinery. Each location must have a documented lockout, tagout and try (LTT) policy incorporating machine-specific isolation rules. All employees must be trained in the policy, and all relevant employees trained in machinery-specific rules for LTT. Each location must carry out and document regular checks of the integrity of LTT and interlock systems. Fundamental 4. Machinery guarding. Each location must maintain a documented system for regular checking of machinery guarding. No machinery may be operated without all exposed or accessible dangerous moving parts being guarded. No machine may be put into operation after maintenance without authorization. Fundamental 5. Confined spaces. All locations must have a documented confined space entry policy and supporting rules for each confined space identified on site. Only trained and authorized persons, employees or contractors should be allowed to work in confined spaces. Fundamental 6. Working at heights. All locations must carry out a risk assessment related to working at heights and document location-specific and task-specific operating rules. Collective measures and/or personal protective equipment must be provided in all cases of working at heights, consistent with the findings of the location risk assessments. Only fully trained and authorized persons, employees and contractors should be allowed to work at height. Any equipment used for working at height must be inspected before use. Fundamental 7. Lifting operations. All operators of lifting equipment, static or mobile, must be trained in the operation of the equipment. Documented checks must be carried out on personnel competency, equipment certification, and loading rates in accordance with legal requirements. Specific areas where lifting and slinging take place must be designated out of bounds to personnel during lifting. All lifting equipment and accessories must be inspected before use and must be subject to the requirements of statutory inspections. Fundamental 8. Electricity. Each location must have in place a documented electricity at work policy and supporting safety procedures for working with electricity. Only fully trained and qualified persons, employees and contractors shall be allowed to carry out work on electrical systems and working or enter control panels and enclosures for the resetting of trips. Electrical systems and connected devices shall have in place residual current device (RCD) protection, which should be frequently tested for functionality and annually tested by a competent person. Fixed wiring must be subject to the requirements of statutory inspections. Fundamental 9. Manual handling. All manual handling operations shall be risk assessed using the appropriate assessment tools, MAC, ART or RAP. All employees involved in manual handling activities should be suitably trained as per the findings of the risk assessment and manual handling assessment. Refresher training is required at a typical frequency of every 3 years. Appropriate mechanical lifting aids must be provided wherever practicable to minimise associated risks. Employees must use mechanical lifting aids wherever they are provided. All lifting devices and accessories must be inspected before use and subject to the requirements of statutory inspections. Fundamental 10. Pressure vessels. All pressure systems shall be designed, manufactured and installed to be safe and without risks to health when used at work. Adequate documentation shall be provided to the user to ensure that the system can be maintained and operated safely and without risk to health. All pressure vessels must be inspected as per the written scheme of examination. Only fully trained and authorised persons, employees and contractors shall be allowed to work or maintain pressure vessels and connected devices. Fundamental 11. Contractors. As a minimum requirement, all contractors must agree to follow the company Conditions of Contract and Safety Rule for Contractors by signing the declaration in the back section of the handbook. They must undertake to ensure that all their employees are made aware of the conditions. Contractors must demonstrate the competence of all their employees and subcontractors and must make available all relevant documentation and safe systems of work, such as risk assessments, method statements, training records and inspection and test records for all equipment being used. Fundamental 12. Gas. All locations must have a policy and associated procedures that comply with current gas safe, installation and use regulations, 1998, 4th edition. Employees required to work with gas systems and associated equipment must be fully trained to the appropriate level of competency. Standard safe operating procedures must be in place for all operations involving gas, such as kiln operation, shutdown and light up. For decommissioning of gas systems, all live systems should be isolated off-site and purged with inert gas before any work starts. Evidence of isolation must be provided before giving any authorization to proceed.
Hello, I'm Simon Hales and I'm the Director of Health and Safety for Ibstock plc. Thank you for watching the Ibstock plc 12 Fundamentals video. The messages are of paramount importance. Remember, it's all about keeping people safe. We've seen that Wayne Shepherd, our CEO, is fully committed to health and safety. The same level of commitment is echoed by the managing directors and the management teams of each of the businesses. We need the same level of commitment from each of you, and together we will achieve a world-class health and safety culture. When the 12 fundamentals of health and safety are followed, many of the risks that we face are reduced or removed entirely. If we fail to follow this guidance, unfortunately things can go wrong. Incidents have happened in the past and we don't want to have them happening again. Our objective is to keep you, your friends, family and your colleagues safe. The guidance offered in this video is intended to do that. Implementing the fundamentals of health and safety is mandatory at work for each and every one of us. But remember, the principles and practices are just as applicable at home. Your health and safety is important everywhere. Remember, safety begins with me. Thank you for your time and your attention today.
Our aim is to ensure that everyone goes home safe, every day, to their families. So always remember, safety begins with me.